So welcome back to Velofan. If you've not been here before, this is a channel I've created to create content about all my motorcycle passions, classic and modern I suppose as well. So I wanted to give you guys a bit of a quick update. Obviously normally the channel is full of Velocette content, but as you can see in this video, I've got with me one of my dream bikes, a Matchless G50. So one of my friends put this idea in my head about a Matchless G50 or an AJS 7R, or potentially the Matchless G45, and I started looking and looking. Obviously most of the time beyond my price range, so or what I could afford at the time, and yeah, and then obviously this bike came up. I saw it with a dealer, at the time couldn't afford it, so just left it. It then sold. And then obviously when I purchased this bike, the next owner bought it from the dealer, but when I viewed this bike I didn't know it was the same bike. I just figured it out later on. So yeah, so it's with me now. It's had the engine fully rebuilt and race tuned by Andy Savage. The gearbox was also checked by him to find it was a 5-speed conversion. What I was going to say, yeah, the frame went off to a company and the wheels went to the same company, so that was a race company that checked all that out. Everything was perfect. The bike has been completely race prepped and ready. It's got all the lock wire on the grips and stuff. A few modifications done to the engine by Andy Savage, which were again race mods, to do with like the valves, squish head, stuff like that. All that stuff's correct, original, which is nice. The bike was owned by the father-in-law of a chap called Gary Vines, and this guy was going to be racing this bike in the classic series. You know, he already was a good racer, and this was booked into Goodwood, so it would have been in the 2023 Goodwood event in the Lansdowne series, but very sadly, the racer, so kind of like the previous owner, because I say he was the guy that was going to ride this bike, passed away at the Isle of Man, also in a classic race event, so in the same year. So obviously this bike, although it was entered into Goodwood, never ever made it there, which then must have made a bit of a delay on the previous owner and family whether they wanted to sell it or not. I come along, obviously, I then suddenly find myself in a position to be able to purchase a G50. So this one's advertised as fully original, and I obviously look at the pictures, everything looks nice. I'm very happy with the condition of the bike, the fact that everything has been done, so all of the tyres and bearings, all that kind of stuff has been checked and it's all good, and it's very race ready. It's got like a nice non-return valve on the breather on the tank and all that other stuff, so everything's good. But there was another dealer selling one, I think it's still for sale. There was another G50, completely original, but the condition was a lot worse and it hadn't been used for 20 years. So to my mind, this bike was by far the better option because, like I say, everything had been done. It just hasn't been used since that time. Obviously, it must have been run up a couple of times, but I mean, it hasn't been raced and it hasn't been ridden anywhere. So I go and view the bike. Like I said, I'm very, very impressed. I'm sort of blown away by, you know, I can tell that the features of the bike seem to be original and everything's good. But obviously I didn't have enough time, as in I'd contacted the owners club, I didn't have enough time to verify the frame number and the engine number. I did figure out that the crankcases had been potentially replaced for aluminium ones over magnesium ones. So those are probably reproduction crankcases, but all this other stuff, you know, all of this, everything is correct, original, all the rest of the engine. I believe that the magnesium crankcases do fail when you're on Castrol R. So that I was a little bit concerned about the fact that the crankcases had been changed, but I kind of accepted it from the race point of view of, you know, this stuff just has to be workable and usable, and if that is a failed item then it will be replaced. So anyway, so obviously went ahead and made the purchase. Since then I've discovered, or I believe, that the frame is probably actually an AJS 7R frame. So exactly the same frame, same sort of bike really, other than obviously the 7R is only a 350, this is the 500, but they look very much the same. So that's kind of like knocked me a little bit, because my other bike, the KTT that you see in the videos, is completely original, matching numbers, which is fantastic. That's what I like about it. And then the other one, the KNS that I'm restoring, is again original, matching numbers. So I'm kind of like in a half mind at the moment whether to go back to the dealer that has the original G50 that's not been used for 20 years and offer him a swap for this bike. I don't know if he will or won't accept that. This, I paid more for it than what he's advertising his bike at, but I'd previously contacted the dealer inquiring to view his bike. However, because I couldn't get an appointment to see this one. However, once I got the appointment to see this bike, the original plan was to, on the way back, visit the dealer, because it was like, you know, it made sense, go to the other one further away, come back. But because I saw this and fell in love with it, it was just a purchase. I was just like, right, there's nothing there really that concerns me. It all looks good. You know, everything was great. I didn't run the bike obviously or anything, and I haven't actually run it since. So yes, so that's my predicament. I want you guys to obviously leave comments on the video if you can, with an opinion as to whether I should keep this bike as is, or try and see if I can engineer a swap, even if it has to be some money from my side to the dealer, because obviously they're looking to sell a bike rather than just swap and get another bike that's basically exactly the same. But like I say, condition wise, this bike is ready to go. I could ride it tomorrow. Everything's been done and it's really nicely done. It's not a bodge. Everything is correct and period and just everything's right. The other bike, like I said, it says needs recommissioning, not been used for 20 years. So potentially, I think I may need to change tyres, maybe some bearings, maybe some changes sprockets, maybe the clutch, maybe all the cables, and probably have to do a full engine rebuild would be my anticipation, although it'd be nice if it was actually okay, and potentially the gearbox. So, you know, it's like, that's my dilemma. I'm currently aiming to get this bike road registered, so that's a process I'm going through, and once I've got the V5, that might even help me sell the bike. If I do decide to try and do something with this other dealer. I mean, you know, the sort of practical element of me says keep this bike. It's an absolutely gorgeous bike, and I know I'm going to enjoy it, and there's nothing really to be worried about. It's just the other side of me that's traditional and normally buys bikes that are obviously designed for the road, and then I aim to get something that's original. I don't really like something that's a marriage or like a custom job or what people call a special, right? However, this is a race bike, and I probably need to accept the fact that it's a race bike, and as such, if you say, for example, are racing your classic G50, you have a crash, the frame is bent and damaged, obviously, you know, you just go and get another frame that's identical, it just happens to be originally designed for the other model with the AMC, you know, AGS Matchless group. So yeah, so a bit of a pickle, but hopefully guys, in the summer, if I can manage to get this V5 situation sorted out, this thing's gonna be on the road, because obviously there's not many on the road. I mean, I've never seen one on the road. I've seen a few for sale that have got a number plate on them, but they tend to either be reproduction, so they've had like they've had a modern frame. This is from 1962, the frame, and yeah, so everything's good. But yeah, I've seen a couple that have got a number plate like registration, but they don't tend to be an actual G50. So it would be rather special for me and for everyone else, and hopefully for people on the channel, to watch this on the road. Just a quick update. I know I'm taking too long now, but a quick update on the progress of the other two Velocettes. So the gearbox that's smashed up in the KTT is with my friend for welding. I believe he's cracking on with that, but he's had it quite a while. And on the KNS, I have this issue of spark plugs dying, and my only kind of like thought process was that it's the magneto, even though the magneto was fully redone. That's with Peter de Kramer, Rutland Dynamos. He's had it quite a long time. I mean, I'd estimate it could be 4 months now. I can't really remember exactly the time frame. I will be able to check. But, you know, there's always very, very, very positive reviews about this guy, and obviously I've not met him yet, but everyone says his work's fantastic. So that's the more important thing, clearly, if he does a really good job. So once that's back on the bike, I'll check that. And once that happens, if I can, I've not made a single onboard video of that bike yet. If I can get that bike to run and the spark plugs to not foul constantly, that would be great. I'll make some content with that. I hope to get a little bit of enjoyment out of that, because I've done a full-on restoration of every single part of that bike. All the bearings, cup and cone bearings had to be remade and, you know, remachined and hardened, all that proper work done so that it could be original as opposed to just bodging in some modern bearings. So that bike's really, really had a lot of effort and love put into it. Whether it would be sold or not, I don't know. Maybe, because like I said, I've already got the KTT now, And also I quite fancy a Rudge, potentially of about a 1934, 1935 bronze head would be ideal. Grand Prix. So yeah, so that's the progress. Like I said, I don't have a classic British bike on the road, which is really frustrating. Like I say, both my Velocettes are out of action, which is unusual, but like I said, it's just the way it is. I couldn't have foreseen the gearbox failure. So please, like I say, I know it's a bit of a ramble and everything else, but I just wanted to kind of update you on this because you wouldn't have known potentially that I've bought this bike. And like I say, please give us some comments on the video down at the bottom there as to what you would probably do in this situation. Would you keep this bike and love it and enjoy it, or would you look to try and move it on from the point of view of just only based on the frame swap, should we say? So thanks for watching, guys. Like I say, we're in the darker months now. I don't do any riding this time of year, and as the weather gets nicer, you'll start to see some more videos, hopefully, of maybe if I get the KTT back together. I've got a load of bits and everything that's all scattered around. It's very concerning. And then I might be able to sort out my workshop a bit better with my lathe that's currently not in the right location, get my Myford lathe set up and do some bits and stuff, so that'd be great. And yeah, have a good one. Just keep positive. We'll say we're in a new year now, and say we look forward to those nicer weather months for riding. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.